You've got everybody telling you how rubbish agriculture is. You've got everybody telling you, oh, there's no money in it. You have to work long hours. It's rubbish. You're on your own all the time and whatever else. Well, I think we need to do a better job as British agriculture telling people, actually, this actually isn't as bad as people make out. Actually, it's quite a good industry to be in. And the fact that there is money to be made. And I am playing that down a little bit because it is hard work, but so's any business. I just think we need to be promoting the industry more than we are doing, telling the British public of how good we are at what we do and the quality of the food that we are producing for them, because without it, you're going to go hungry. Hi, I'm Matthew Williams, trading as MW Farming, arable farming in Shropshire and Staffordshire. Started in 2016, where I was working for a chap. He then decided he was going to retire from arable farming. So I then went to him and approached him and asked him if I could take it on, which luckily he said yes. For 2016 we started, 17 was my first harvest. Started with 1,100 acres, increased our acreage now to this year combining 2,200 acres. And then in 2020 decided I wasn't busy enough in the winter, so bought my own lorry, which was the idea was I was going to drive just in the winter. And then I had Rob start with me, who had got his HGV licence as well. So he then suggested we bought another lorry for him to drive. So we went down that route, and as it turns out, as we stand here today, neither of us are now driving a lorry, and I've got 3 full-time drivers on 3 lorries, which wasn't the plan, but that's where we've ended up. And with the lorries we move grain, and we've now started doing liquid fertiliser, moving that for brine flow.
Right, Rob, give us a bit of history on yourself then. How long have you been here?
I think March 2022, when I first started.
Have you always been driving combines, or is that something you did when you came here? Or?
Drove it at my previous job. I don't know when 2017 I think was the first year I drove one full time, and then every year since then really I've driven several different ones now.
Obviously contract farming is slightly different to your usual average farm. Rob, how is it different for you boys? Obviously you're trying to keep a lot of people happy.
Yeah, well, every customer wants something a little bit different probably, and wants things in a different way, so we just make sure we tailor what we do to each individual client or landowner, and then just try and be uber tidy and generally try and go the extra mile to keep it right, as much for your own name as well as Matthew's, and as well as getting everything, self-pride. You got to have self-pride in what you do, haven't you? But what we're doing is different. It's all a bit of a learning curve for me, and Matthew is good. He gets me involved in everything, and he'll discuss it all and get my thoughts on bits and pieces. Since I've been here, I've enjoyed it.
The reason I wanted to go out on my own was because to start with, I never ever thought I'd get the opportunity. I think all of us, when you're young lads or girls and you haven't got a farm to go at, because I'm generation 1, the reality of it is it's too expensive to start, and I haven't got a farm to inherit. But when that opportunity came along, I wasn't going to get the opportunity again. At no point was I going to work for somebody that was potentially going to retire and let me have a go at farming myself. So it was a case of spent 2 weeks putting budgets and cash flows together, and I'd been working on the land that I was going to hopefully take on. I'd been working on that land for around about 10 years prior to me taking it on. So I knew the land, I knew what it was capable of, which was a really good start. And also then we had to ask the relevant agents for the different blocks of ground. on whether they were happy for me to take it on. And again, really thankful to all of the agents that were involved, but they all said, yeah, no, let's give it a go and see how you get on, and obviously landowners alike. So it was, yeah, that opportunity of being able to just get on and have a go and do it. And if it failed, at least I'd had a go trying. It was one of those that I'd rather fail trying than always spending that time thinking, oh, what if? And in my head, I wasn't going to fail. I've had to work extremely hard, put a lot of hours in, sacrifice a lot of things to make it all happen and make it all work, but it's paid off, you know. And at the start I couldn't afford to employ anybody else really, so doing 1,100 acres on my own, obviously with a bit of harvest help, but all the fertiliser spreading, spraying, doing all of that on my own because I physically couldn't afford to employ anybody else. Thankfully, you know, as we've progressed and we've expanded, that has changed, and funny enough, I can't do 2,200 acres on my own. So yeah, it's just a case of getting good staff, and I'm really, really lucky and fortunate to have the lads that I've got working with me, because they're all brilliant, each in their own way. Everybody says to me, what's the goal, what's the end goal? I said, well, men and machinery, you can do anything, can't you? So there's no acreage I'm trying to get to, just whatever we can comfortably do and do to a good standard, because that's my big thing, is that we need to do the job right.
So at what stage of your harvest are we at now then? I think we've pretty much caught you at the tail end, haven't we?
Yeah, we can see the light now. It's tomorrow evening hopefully we'll be done, which will be a relief. Well, it's been easy this year, but still nice to get it done.
How has it been this year? Because obviously it's been very dry.
Yeah, yields have been some and some on different crops. We've had good crops of oilseed rape this time. The wheat's been there or thereabouts average. So yeah, but it's just been effortless. You can look at the forecast on a Sunday night and know what you're going to do for the week generally. So I
suppose it's been quite nice to plan ahead then. And
yeah.
About it.
No, it has been. 2022 was the last one, but seemed more full on somehow than this year. Yeah, we haven't done any mega long hours and late nights. It's just seems to have gone quite easy enough.
So obviously we've had two really rough years, really poor autumns, not drilling anywhere near the amount of winter corn that we wanted to plant, and we've had to adapt with spring cropping and try and get that to plug the gap. And obviously I don't have huge amounts of buffers for that. From that, I don't have millions of pounds sat in the bank, not that many farmers do, but I don't have that sat behind me as a buffer. So we've got to be making money every year to make it stand up, and that goes for all of the landowners as well, because we contract farm. We've got to be doing the right thing for them to earn them some money on their asset, and it is just about managing expectations as well. So we have a lot of meetings, quarterly meetings with contract farming, and currently with our 2,200 acres, we are contract farming the best part of sort of 1,900 acres of that. So it's really important that I can perform for the contract farms. There's only so much I can do when it comes to weather. I'd love to be able to control that, and actually I make more money than I would farming. As we are at the moment, budgets, rejigging budgets, going over them, not to the point where it's sort of a waste of time and you just rejig them for the sake of rejigging them, but all of the contract farms, they have cash flow to manage as well as my own business. So it's important that I'm doing that for them as well as myself, and it just comes down to spreadsheets. I'm a big fan of a spreadsheet. People laugh about it. The lads here do anyway. Because I've always got my head in a spreadsheet of one form or another. But it's so important, because actually you can very quickly get in a pickle with things. And I hold my hands up. I've done that early doors. Got my cash flow completely wrong. I'd budgeted for everything. I'd rented a block of ground. In my cash flow, I'd paid for all of the inputs, paid the rent, but I was still 50 grand out. And I couldn't work out, and I had 10 days trying to work out where I was wrong in my thing. And I was thinking, crikey, have I got this really wrong? And at the time, second year, 50 grand was make or break. Not that 50 grand doesn't mean anything to me now, because it very much does. But on that early doors, 50 grand was very much make or break. And I had a week of sleepless nights worrying about it. And then one day I was sat in front of my spreadsheet, and I realised that on that block of grain I hadn't sold the grain, which was a bit of an error. But actually, as it turned out, it was okay, and actually my sleepless nights were just created by my own error. It wasn't anything that we'd actually physically done wrong. But it's just simple things like that that can really cause issues. Yeah, so very difficult to start off, and nobody can teach you that really. The chap that I was taking the ground off and renting off and taking the contract farms off, he was very good at explaining things and how things worked and you know, an element to cash flow. But I had worked in Lincolnshire for 12 months, actually sort of alongside Velcourt, and I did some management training with them, and actually the financial training I did with Velcourt was actually second to none. It was brilliant, and actually I learned a lot over there. I learned more there in 12 months than I did 4 years at Harper Adams. So. But it is exceptionally difficult because you haven't only got the pressures of having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and sit on the tractor for 18 hours a day. You've then got the constant ticking along in your head of, oh, that bill needs paying, or that invoice, I haven't done that invoice for so and so, and that, oh, if I don't do that now, that's not going to be paid for another month. You've got all of that just ticking along, and then you have something break down, and you have to try and sort that out. And you know, this isn't anything new. This is just running a business, and running a farming business is very unique in the fact that you have to have so many hats on. You have to be a mechanic, you have to be a driver, you have to have the business side of it as well. There's just so many things that you have to be conscious of and aware of to be able to make it all work, and it doesn't come for free. You know, I have had to sacrifice a lot of things to be able to do this. You know, I went for a long time of not going on holiday and everything else, and I don't begrudge any of that because I wouldn't change what I'm doing now, and I love what I do, and I want to do more of it. It takes its toll as running any business. It doesn't matter whether it's agriculture or not, but it just takes a lot of ball juggling, which was the bit that I hadn't really anticipated. The bit that I'd got in my head that, you know, there was going to be cash flow things to sort out, but the reality of the pressure of that, and that you can't explain to anybody. Nobody, unless they're doing it, you can't relay what that feels like. And I did actually have somebody say to me, I'd literally just started. It had been the winter of 2016, so we'd just planted our 17 harvest crop, and I bumped into them, and they said, oh, they heard that I was doing what I was doing. And it was interesting, and they followed it up with, you know, oh, probably shouldn't necessarily be doing that. You know, probably should have all gone to some bigger farmers, some more established farmers around here. Which then drove me on to, right, okay, well, I'm going to absolutely make sure that this works, and that gave me the drive to prove people wrong, because there will be people out there that probably thought I shouldn't be doing it or couldn't do it, but that was a huge driver. And of course, I was 28 at the time, and at 28. Well, at 18, you think you know everything, and then you very quickly realise when you're 24 that you knew nothing at 18. And when you're 28, you think you could possibly know everything. And now I'm 37. I know at 28 I definitely didn't know everything. For youngsters getting into it, you are always going to get back what you put in. You've got to work. And I was working for somebody else, but I treated the farm like it was my own. The hours I did, I was on salary. So if I was there for 18 hours or 8 hours, I was paid exactly the same, but I went over and above, and I think that very much helped the decision process for the chap that I was taking it off of, for him to let me have a go, because he knew that I was going to graft for it. But I would say to anybody young that is wanting to do what I'm doing, you've got to put yourself in that position, because it wasn't offered to me on a plate. I was going to have to look for another job. I didn't want to do that, so I put myself out there. I put myself on the line for it. I bought a house when I was 24. I had to use that as collateral. For a loan that I had off Lloyds Bank, and actually I can't speak highly enough of Lloyds Bank, because Mark Lord, and I don't mind name dropping, he was fantastic. Without him I wouldn't have got started. I'd spent my 2 weeks putting my budgets together, and I put them in front of him, and I felt like I was back at school, because he sat there with a red pen scribbling stuff out and putting arrows to different places and circling things, and stayed very quiet during all of this. Put it all together, and then he sat back in his chair and said, yeah, I can't see why not, we'll make something work. So that, you know, there's a lot of key people that allowed it to happen, but you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to put yourself in that position. It isn't just going to come to you. You know, and just by working, yes, work hard, but you know, if you're working for somebody and there's a hint that a son or a daughter or family aren't going to want to take it on, put yourself out there. Make it aware that that's your ambition, that you want to farm yourself, because you don't know what will happen. What's the worst that will happen is that they say no, and then you just carry on working, or you go and work for somebody else if it stops there. But you've got to put yourself in that position. And if I hadn't have done that, I would be working for somebody else now. And I'm very much better off by doing what I'm doing. I was going to say I'm not told what to do by anybody, but again, the lads will tell you different to that. I am now at a position where I'm now told what to do, and I end up with all the rubbish jobs where they all sit in aircon cabs and I'm in the dust and the stuff around the dryer and things. So, but again, it's as long as it all happens, that to me is more important. I don't drive the combine. Haven't driven the combine since I started. We did have 2 combines because we were slightly more acreage, but SFI is Worcesterstown. Last year we combined 2,900 acres, and we had 2 combines. We've dropped down to 1 combine this year, which has actually, I've seen a huge efficiency improvement by going to 1 combine. We were actually really inefficient with the 2, with moving fields, because we're not blessed with large fields. So we end up with the combine sat a lot. We've got a chaser bin that loads lorries, but there's just a lot of sitting around and waiting for things. And you know, this year, averaging anywhere between 100 and 120 acres a day combining, and when we had 2, we were probably only doing 150, 160, with the additional cost of another driver, another combine. Just the efficiency of that has come home this year. Just been able to sort of tweak that and change that.
So you're a class man then?
Yeah, the combines are good. I know them reasonably well, but the dealership in the local area is, I think, what sells them mainly around here. You can't, the backup, you can't fault them, to be fair.
Do you like the 770?
Yeah, no, goes well. Yeah, no, she's a nice bit of output when she's, the weather's right and it's in front of you to go, she'll have it.
Have you noticed much of a difference just running the 1, or is it made much of a change just running the 1?
I think, it's definitely meant you've run this one far more efficiently than running the 2 the way we did it. Yeah, you've got the trailer drivers and everybody else fully concentrated on this when it comes to moving and making sure everyone's in the right place at the right time. Means you have less time stood. You seem to be able to get more acres a day under our belts now with just running the 1 as opposed to running 2, 3/4 of their capacity probably.
And I suppose if it did come to it, like if we have a patchy season again, you could always look at hiring. Would be an option.
Or getting behind, there's folks will come and surely someone will give you a hand, and if you do take on another slug of ground, it's only go shopping one afternoon. So it's just, you've got to farm for where you're at the time, I think, as opposed to we run 2 because we always have.
So is the 770 the right size machine to be, if you're just running the 1, does it?
It has been this time, going potentially milling wheat next year, and more wheat than we have this time. So the harvest will be a bit more compact together, as opposed to, it's been quite spread out with the variety of crops we've had this year. Whether or not that'll make a difference, but for what we do, she's at the minute it's done it easy this year.
Is there anything you'd change on this machine?
No, this is a nice machine. We drove it. I've had a couple of new ones where I used to work, and that's nice to have a new machine. But no, this one, to be fair, I think it's had a reasonable first home, and it's done as well. It goes all right. 40k, I'd like 40k.
Just for on the road, like?
Oh, it's just painful.
Yeah, it does make a big difference. I suppose you're moving around a lot.
Yeah. That's the. But if I change one thing on it, that'd be that.
I've never been excited about the idea of buying a new combine. The idea of spending that amount of money on something that does 6 weeks' work, it just doesn't excite me at all. The thing that the class combine isn't, probably a little bit controversial, but isn't necessarily the best combine on the market. But our local dealer, Morris Caulfields, makes it the best combine on the market because of their backup. We have an issue, they're there straight away, and they have parts on the shelf. I don't know, in the last 9 years of farming, I think probably once they've had to order a part. Everything else is on the shelf, and they will always have something to get you going to replace something if they haven't got it, if it's something spurious. But no, Morris Caulfield's absolutely fantastic for the backup, and we just get on really well with the class product. We run a class loader as well, a Scorpion, and really like that. We were John Deere tractors, and we're now a mixed fleet. I say a mixed fleet, we only own 2 tractors. So we've got a John Deere 6250R, and we've just had a Fendt 728 this year. And really those are the 2 that I would want to stick with. Again, purely from a business point of view, residuals. Really big fan of things that will hold their money. Because all this stuff, doesn't matter what colour it is, it costs a fortune. I need to have something of value at the end of it when we want to come to replace it. So from that point of view, we try and run good equipment that we can sort of sell from the farm gate, if you like. Hence, running an Agrifac sprayer, we took on some contracting work, 500 acre farm that's 25 mile away from here. I was currently running a bateman at the time, and I just hadn't got the confidence that we were going to get the work done, and we were on 36 metre with the bateman, but you know, it was a busy machine. And I'd sat on one of these over in Lincolnshire. We had potatoes on the farm I was at, and I was sat with a lad, and he went across the end of the potato rows, and the boom just didn't move, and I just thought, one day I will either drive or own an agri-factory. I didn't think I'd own it, but I thought I'll at least get to drive one. And then yeah, we managed to find this machine second hand. We bought it when it got 1900 hours on it. It's done 20,000 hectares of spraying, or 18,000 hectares of spraying. We're now on 5,500 hours with this, and it's just clicked over 57,000 hectares. You know, we're doing sort of 13,000 hectares-ish a year, and the sprayer is such a key part to an arable farm. We've moved to liquid fertiliser. We did that 3 years ago. That's increased the workload for the machine, and there's times when you're up against it, and especially with the weather the way it's been the last few years, when you've got to go, you've got to be able to get on. Best day with this spraying, it was actually this year. It was pre-em spraying at the start of in the morning. Granted, I was in the seat at 5 o'clock, but I was pre-em spraying, then went on to round up in stubbles off, then back to pre-emming at the end of the day, and I did 621 acres. And again, for a farm that's got big fields, that would be probably an average day. But for us, our average field size is 15 acres. So to be able to do that sort of acreage, I genuinely don't think, again, probably quite controversial, I don't think I'll be able to do that acreage with a bateman. And so that's why we run this machine. We like the larger footprint from the wheels. The track width, should be able to change the track width, we have to do that very often. We did do on that farm on the first year, because they were at 72 and we run at 80. But yeah, after that, everything was then done at 80, but it's just the way this machine performs. As you can probably tell, I quite like sprayers. And always have done. I've sprayed since I was 18 years old. Yeah, worrying that's now coming up 20 years this year. It's a bit of a worry, but no, it's important that, you know, the equipment's good as well, because again, it helps retain lads. We're only a small team here on the farming side. Like I said, I've got 3 full-time on lorries, and then there's 2 other lads, Rob and Joel, who are with me, helping make it all work and happen. But again, you know, we're a small team, but they all look after the kit as if it's their own. You know, and you can't ask any more than that, especially with the, you know, the value of this stuff.
So let's talk a bit about this crop that we're in today then, because it's something quite new to you boys.
Yeah, well, this is Wild Farm spring wheat mixed with beans, grown on contract for Wild Farm. So this is the second year we've done it.
So how exactly does this work then, and what's the idea behind it?
It's just your regenerative farming, and so you're limited on, well, you can't put any herbicides on, limited on nitrogen. It's just meant to be better for the environment, and it goes into their breads, which are marketed for those, just for the higher end clients, I suppose. With the way everything is these days, you have just got to try and look at something a bit different, find that niche of where you can get you a bit more premiums and whatever else to make the job work, because as times are tough at the minute, wheat prices are terrible. You've just got to do that little bit extra to try and do things a little bit different, perhaps. I'd much rather look at a field that's full hedge to hedge with wheat and thriving, but it's not what the world wants these days, I don't think.
Well, obviously you and Matt have been quite open-minded with it. You've given it a go and you seem to be making it work.
Yeah, that's one thing about Matthew. We will give some of the crack. If it looks like it strings together on a spreadsheet, he will have a go at it.
Does he like his office work much?
Oh yeah, no, that's where...
as well as sitting on a tractor, he can do a day in the office. Yeah,
I think that's where his passion is. He loves a spreadsheet.
So I like trying new things and trialling stuff and seeing how it goes and doing trials on farm. I'm not a big fan of trials in a field in Hereford somewhere or in Lincolnshire. It's not anywhere near our farm, it's not on our soil type. So I'm a big fan of doing on-farm trials. It adds a bit of interest to the job. If you just do the same old, even farming can get repetitive. So trying new stuff, it keeps the job interesting, it keeps it exciting. Trying these different crops. I wouldn't just, I'm not going to put 1,000 acres of something that I don't know what it is. We're not going too wild. I mean, the wild farmed wheat, it was spring wheat. I mean, it's not, it's been grown before. So it's not, from that point of view, there's a limited amount of risk. I would like to diversify our cropping more. and I would like to move into growing something else. I haven't just quite got to what that's going to be yet, but I think from a risk management point of view, for me as a business, for me individually as a business, I think we need to diversify, and I think we need to do some different things. I think just being combinable crops necessarily is we are at risk of the markets, and it's a global market. We can't change that, and we might have a good or a bad harvest here, but it all depends what Russia's doing, what Australia have done, what America are doing, what maize is being imported at, and those are all things that we've got no control over at all. We are price takers, we're not price makers, and from my point of view, I just think we need to sort of de-risk that a little bit and just change what we're doing.
So what is this stuff like to combine? Because obviously you've got the wheat and the beans. Is it hard to manage what's going out the back of the combine, or?
I want the wheat more than I want the beans.
Right.
But
okay.
yeah, to be fair, it's surprising. You set for wheat, you still got a lot of beans in the tank. There is less beans in the sample this year than there was last year. They seem to come a little bit better last year, but there was, this is a better mix. We had too many beans last year.
We started moving down the route of moving away. Well, I sold the plough, moved into a purely mint-hill system / direct drilling system, knowing that we've got some land that will direct drill and some that won't, knowing that we had to be sort of flexible on that point of view. But we also knew that we needed to change our rotation. Involved going from a strict rotation of a first wheat, second wheat, winter barley, oilseed rape. That was it. Nothing more complicated than that. On a bad year, they'd end up with some spring barley or some spring oats or something on a wet autumn. But I wanted to look at doing things slightly different. So we went down the route of buying a Missouri drill, so down the strip till drill. And then we moved from a Missouri after a couple of years and moved to a Claydon. And we've moved to a 6 metre Claydon, which is fantastic, and really, really like the drill, so simple. And moving to that system, it needed to look at sort of changing the way that we were doing the cropping. What we've ended up doing is looking at different options. So for example, we have grown wild farmed wheat, and oats. We've actually got some oats behind us this year. So we've done 2 years of that. First year worked really, really well. Had a good spring. It was a late spring, but it went in well and actually yielded on budget. Budgeted 1.5 tons to the acre, and that's pretty much where we ended up. This year, not quite so much. Yield was down. Ended up actually sort of just over the ton mark, which does put a pressure on the budget, which is really, really important, because actually, all of these crops we've got to look at to see whether they're the right thing to be doing going forward. Yeah, we've ended up with the wild farmed this year, not performing quite so well, but money-wise, it is still paying way over what market is at the moment, which will make up for the drop in yield. When we first started with wild farmed, I was asked if I wanted to do a couple of fields. For us, that's just an annoyance really, because it ends up being just a ball ache to go somewhere to go and manage 2 fields or combine 2 fields separate. And I'm sort of all in or all out. So we ended up growing 440 acres of wild farm spring wheat. Bit of a gamble, but it looked right to me on paper. The spring that we had was good, and it was a good growing season, and it paid off, and it worked really, really well. Wild farmed have been really, really good to deal with. There's an element of they've learned a lot as well. That there was a few teething problems with movement and bits and pieces, and where it was moving to and how it's being cleaned and everything else. But actually, that's now a lot better. And again, they've got different people in the right places now and things. So they've changed what they're doing just purely because of the amount that they're now doing, because they are seen as a genuine option for growing for now from a contract point of view.
We're going to be in some poppies tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that side of the job then.
So yeah, again, second year on the poppies as well. They suit our lighter ground really well, as you'll see tomorrow. It's like building sand, it's nothing to it. They go, that's for the culinary market. They like for fancy breads and cakes, I guess, and things like that. You don't get a massive amount of them, but then obviously price is reflective. But then the inputs as well aren't great. So again, another not easy enough crop to grow, really.
That's not something you see every day.
No.
What are they like to put through the machine? Are they like?
They're a
are
bit
they
more,
even smaller?
It's like dust.
Yeah.
So
it'd be even smaller than rape, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, you can soon blow that out the back if you're not careful, and you do end up with it on the floor, but yeah, try and get as much as you can. But last year, again, that worked well for us. We aimed for a tonne to the hectare on that, and we did just over that last year. We had, we had 17 hectares and we had 21 tonne, I think it was. So that was nerve-wracking when you know the price of them and you pull in with a combine for the first time.
I suppose the thing with that is then trying to eliminate how many times you're moving it, I suppose.
Yeah, as well, yeah. Yeah, you don't want a windy day to be offloading that either. Last year, trying to find good weather to cut them with a bit of sunshine was definitely a challenge last year, but it was for everything else as well. This year, we've saved them till last, but they're not hurting. They'll sit there in the capsules, they'll be fine. But yeah, tomorrow's meant to be a bright day, so hopefully we'll go and get them cut. And
what do they have to be at on the moisture side?
9%, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's sort of, you need a drying floor to do anything with them. They don't store very well. They'll soon heat up. The quicker they move for us, the price is the price. So you get no benefit on holding on to them really. So if they go, it'll be happy days.
And actually, again, that did what the budget said it was going to do. It was on light land that we really struggle to get yield on with any other crop, and especially this year just gone with how dry it's been. 25 harvest. I mean, we had no rain and it was on sand, and it still performed, I'm not going to say really well, but it performed well. And from a financial point of view, there wouldn't have been anything else that would have beaten it. So again, it was the right thing to do. Again, I'm sort of, again, all in or all out. The first year we grew 17 hectares. This year, 25 harvests, we grew just under 30 hectares. For 26 harvests I've planned, we've got 75 hectares in. But I know how we're putting it in now, because its seed bed is absolutely crucial to poppies. It's got to be put in right. And again, you have to sort of not be so rigid and going down the route of everything must be direct drilled or everything must be strip till drilled. We run a carrier in front of the claydon to get tilth, to make sure, and even on this year with it being so dry, we've done that because we've had some very hard ground and the claydon would have struggled, as most strip till drills will. So from that point of view, we very much fluid in, there's no hard and fast rule, we just do whatever needs to be done. And actually the crops are really, really well this year. So on the back of that, I think we're I'm happy with the system that we're running. And we can do, good acres a day. For two blokes that are out, we've got an 8 metre carrier and a 6 metre drill. Rob will drill 140 acres a day, and pretty consistently. So from that point of view, it makes a huge difference when you're running a small team. But we can still get over the ground, that's the thing. And again, if at all we were ever going to worry about being up against it, we'd just double up on drills. We'd go and buy another one, because from that point of view, men and machinery, you can do anything.
So how has the business grown over the last few years since you've been here then, Rob?
Ground-wise, it's been a bit some and some, because we took some on and then obviously lost bits and pieces. It's just uncertain times for a lot of people at the minute. There's a lot of ground coming and going between different things, so we're always on the lookout. We're young still yet and keen, so the lorries, the side of it, when I came here they had 1 and now it's grown to 3, with the view going forward it could grow more. Just had to see how it all pans out. I don't know whether the way we do things are a little bit more efficient now, a mixture of strip till and no-till. We do very little no-till, to be fair. You got a farm, you want a crop at the end of it, and you wouldn't sacrifice. We try and do as little as we can, but still be able to make a profit. It's no good going there saying you've burnt, 5 litres an acre drilling, but then you've got nothing to cut. You've got to find the happy medium, and we will cultivate and run the carrier in front of the drill if it needs it to get the tilth there. We'll sumo if the ground's tight, but in the other hand, if it doesn't need it, we won't do it.
So we bought a Missouri stubble rake in 2022, I think it was. Ended up being, we were using a carrier at the time, and I just thought, actually, do you know what, the carrier's a bit overkill, and at the time I had a 5 metre carrier. So it was a case of, well, actually, a 7 metre stubble rake would be a better thing, it'd be quicker. And actually I wanted something that had got the discs on the front, which the Missouri had. We'd got the Missouri drill at the time, so it all just worked and it fitted. We use that as much as we can. And actually this year we actually used it on some ground twice to knock some volunteers about, but also to try and control control slug eggs. Because again, they are very, very good at doing that. Slugs haven't been an issue this year. but it was just we'd had some moisture and we thought there might just be something. So, but we moved from the Missouri, very expensive drill to run. Wearing parts were really expensive for us. We were averaging about £7,500 to £8,000 a year on wearing parts, and we got to the point where it was almost cheaper to plough, which I didn't want to do. And that was a 4 metre. We wanted to move to a 6. A 6 metre Missouri was a beast of a drill. We hadn't got a tractor that was going to drive that. So then we looked at the Claydon and we had a demo of it. We had it brought out to us on a Sunday morning and we tried it, and it was just, we had the Missouri and the Claydon running together in the same block of ground, and you couldn't tell between them. The Missouri came up a little bit more even to start with, but once everything was up, and probably it took about 4 or 5 days for the Claydon to even up, but after that there was no yield difference, and the Claydon was just simpler to use. Running costs of the Claydon are next to nothing. We've just put new legs on it this year, but it's done the best part of 3,000 hectares. Just put new A-shares on and some new following harrows, and they're no money in comparison to the Missouri. And it just does a really good job in it. We went mounted rather than trailed, again because of obstacles in the fields, corners of fields and things. And Rob, who does the drilling, he was keen for a mounted. It was cheaper than a trailed, which was another deciding factor. And yeah, now we've got one. It wouldn't worry me at all having two. I think, yeah, brilliant bits of kit, just so simple. I mean, let's be honest, it's a scuffle with a hopper on the top, but it does everything it needs to do. And like I say, we run in front with a carrier if we need. We've got some ground that we didn't, we just went straight in with this year, but we can just run across with a carrier. Doing some costings the other day, we actually ended up using for stubble raking, carrying, drilling, rolling, equated to 15 litres a hectare of fuel, which I can't complain and moan about that. You know, from a cost point of view, establishing a crop, that I'd spend that all day long, and the crops look good. We run 12 metre Dalbo rolls. Again, we were running a 6 metre set when I first started, then bought a second-hand 12 metre Quavone set off Facebook. Didn't see them, I just bought them, spoke to the chap on the phone, and they were delivered, and I should have probably gone to see them. But so we ran those. I had to spend a bit of money on those just to get those usable. We ran those for a season, might have been a season, an autumn and a spring, and then I thought, actually, we'd had a reasonable year and I wanted to update the rolls, and I wouldn't buy anything else now. There's Dalbo rolls, and you can power the wings down and whatever. They're just fantastic. They're just so level and just do a brilliant job. And this year, in the last 2 years, I haven't been able to get the rolls out of the shed much. It's been too wet. This year, everything's been rolled, and it makes such a difference when you can get things looking right from the start.
Obviously, you're running the Claydon now then?
Yeah, 6 metre Claydon, yeah.
Is that the Evolution, is it?
Yes, yeah, this will be the 3rd autumn. Yeah, it's good. It, like last year, was drilling wheat, and some of the fields I pulled into I thought was nuts. Like you think to yourself, yeah, we shouldn't be here, but we've had a crop from it. We had a hybrid on demo before, and they've changed a few things on that now, and what they've changed is definitely a huge step forwards.
I mean, your personal opinion, are you taken by the direct drilling, by the Claydon and that whole system, or would you still...
I am, but this is just a totally different mindset, isn't it? Because I've done a lot of drilling, and to have a field that you've been in with a combination, and you go out through the gate and it's like manicured, looks uber tidy, and you've got a bit of pride in what you've done. GPS has took the pride out of all the work these days, isn't it? But to now you'll see stubble and trash on top and whatever else. It's a different mindset, but I don't think it's wrong. If you're still growing the crops, then not throwing the diesel at it and thrashing the soil to an inch of its life to create a seed bed. It can't be wrong, can it? It is all a bit more soil health and soil management, I guess, is a bigger part of this system. Again, as opposed to wheel plough and combination drill, because that's what we've done for the last however many years. Your cheapest method of cultivation is go out with a spade first and have a look at the job and just do what's right, as opposed to, say, do that because that's what we've done. And that's refreshing with Matthew. He hasn't got anyone behind him saying, this is what it's got to be, because that's how we've always done it. He can, if he wants to change his mind tomorrow, within reason, change his mind tomorrow and go down a totally different route. He hasn't got to run it by anybody as such. So yeah, it gives us perhaps a bit more flexibility that others can't, I don't know.
So 2019, the crops in the ground looked really well. It was literally in the June before harvest of July. I started sat doing numbers, and I was thinking that, we've got some big crops coming, and I was really worried about my baling costs. I was using contracts at the time. I was using 2 contractors, and they were both really, really good, but it was just concern about the cost. So I started looking into the idea of going down having a big baler of our own and actually being able to control it and not missing any opportunities to bale. And I'd got the lads available at harvest to help do that. Started looking around, and I've actually got a friend who works for John Deere, and he said, you want to be looking at this? So I went over to Langer and actually had a look at the machine and looked around it, and pretty much did a deal there and then. And the baler has been really, really good. We've had a couple of issues. We had a bearing go last year where an auto greaser wasn't working that we hadn't seen, and a bearing went, and that was a little bit griefy. But apart from that, it very rarely drops a string. Been really, really reliable. I don't think actually we've had a John Deere mechanic out to it other than a service right when we first had it, and to change a part that was a warranty thing with John Deere. So they gone on and changed that. It's been a really good machine for us. Consistent bale weights, that was another thing as well. The lads that I was selling the straw to all really liked the fact that our bales weighed heavy and that they were consistent. Again, that comes down to the lad on the seat as well. But just being in control of the baling ourselves. And actually it sat with me better thinking that I was going to have a finance payment to pay on a machine that I was going to eventually own, rather than having invoices from 2 contractors. And actually we were baling with quadrants when I first started. Then we moved to this John Deere, which is a 4x3. We baled pretty much 5,000 bales in that 19 harvest, 5,000 bales of wheat and barley straw. If we'd have had that as quadrants, I'd worked it out that we'd have had 7,300 bales. And it's a huge, 2,300 bales less to move, to handle, to load. So there's a cost saving from that point of view. And the fact is the baler's now bought and paid for. So if we have a wetter year, the last 2 years, we haven't baled a huge amount. But this last year, we've baled a lot more. So again, there isn't that worry about, I've got to factor in, there's going to be a contracting charge there. For me, yes, there is a cost to baling, but it's a hell of a lot less doing it ourselves and being able to bale what we want, when we want, and just waiting for the conditions to be right, because, we can't be selling straw at 17%. Everything we try and bale is 15% and below. And this year, 9-10% was where we were at. I don't think we had anything above 12% this year on the season. But it just works really, really well for us as a system.
So Rob, you're not just combine driver, you are transport manager as well, is it?
Transport manager for the lorries, yeah.
Tell us a bit about that side of the job then.
We run MWF Transport as a bit of a separate entity, but I flick between the two. So in the winter, a bit of lorry driving, but we have got drivers now on all 3 lorries, so I've never been kicked out, which is fine.
What trucks are you running then?
2 Scanias and a Volvo at the minute. I'm a Scania man, but Matthew's a Volvo man, so you've got to keep him warm to keep him happy.
So you might have clashed a bit in the past then, maybe.
Yeah, they're both good lorries, I think. It's driver preference. There's much of a muchness, I think. Everyone
seems very passionate about their kit.
Yeah.
I see the lorry parked up alongside the pressure washer this morning. They're getting ready for a truck show, are they?
Jamie, yeah, he's mad keen. He's taking trailer, lorry, so he's had wheels off his trailer this morning, cleaning the insides. I mean, 10 out of 10 for commitment, but I don't know as I'd be doing it. Bilth Truck Show, is it? Truck Fest Wales or whatever this weekend, so there's him going. Martin, the other driver of the Volvo, he's on holiday, but I think he's coming back Friday to wash his lorry to take us there as well. Yeah, they'll go down there and just spend the weekend polishing.
I suppose it's nice.
Oh, it's good they got without a doubt. You'd definitely rather have them come back and want to polish than come back and tell you there's a panel missing. And yeah, they think more of the lorries than they do of anything else. So no, they're golden, to be fair. It is nice to see the lorries out and about, clean and shining. Yeah, I enjoy the lorries, but it depends what set. Like I say, the driver and the bulker, he organises the work and does all that, so it's easy for us. You go through we do a bit of work a month to keep an eye on maintenance and everything else like that, and keep an eye on what they're doing. But on a day-to-day basis, he goes off and it runs itself kind of thing. And the tanker as well, you do a couple of hours planning, bit of phoning round on a wet day, and he can go off and keep busy for a couple of weeks on end without too much input.
The lorries very much help the farming side when it comes to harvest. So we're hiring a couple of trailers at harvest. We've got our own 18-ton Richard Weston, but we're hiring a couple of tractors and trailers at harvest. But we use lorries for all of the longer hauls. We work in a 30-mile radius of base. So on the back of that, to do that with a lorry, you take, for each lorry that's on the road, you take 2 tractors and trailers off. So 50% less staff. And we've already got the staff because they're already driving a lorry. So we do have to do a bit of changing around on the organising of work, because we run 2 bulkers that are out on the road full time. So when it comes to harvest, it's hard work. You have to not do other paid work to then come and do the harvest for us. And and that to me is the priority. Going out and picking grain up from another farm isn't a priority at harvest. So yeah, it's just changing that round really. And then obviously the liquid fertiliser job that we do for brine flow. We move our own liquid fertiliser as well as others, so we try and keep the tank on the road for sort of getting on for the best part of 10 months of the year. And that has been a really good thing as well, because if we're needing liquid fertiliser quick, which everybody does, we're not waiting for wheels to bring it. We can just prioritise our own in amongst it, or to get the lad back home, he can bring one of our own back. So that works really well. And we've got a curtain cider as well, so if ever there was an issue of seed not being delivered or whatever, we'd just go and pick it up ourselves, and it just allows there to be no break or waiting for anything, which is really, really important. And I enjoy the transport side of things, the whole process of moving stuff from A to B. Really, really like how all of that's done and the organisation of it and everything else. 2025 has been a big year for us, because we've actually been in a position to buy a small plot of land. Again, didn't think I'd ever be able to do that, but we've been able to make it work business-wise, and with the support of Oxbury Bank, they've been fantastic on being able to lend money and have faith in what I'm doing. So yeah, we've bought 38.5 acres that right on the side of a main road. Location-wise, sits fairly centrally to all of the ground that we farm, and at the moment we're in a rented yard, which nothing stays the same forever. And there was always that thing, always aspiration for me, is that I wanted to own my own yard. I wanted to be able to run it, have my own grain store. Again, didn't think I'd ever be able to do it. I thought I'd have to rent forever, but we've been able to make it work. And actually last week we made a start on that. We've actually managed to get planning permission, so we put a grain store there, and we've started stripping soil and putting the driveway in for it. It's all just taken a little bit longer than I was hoping, but again, Oxbury have asked the right sort of questions and tested my numbers and my spreadsheets, which have taken a bit more juggling. But it's actually been a really good exercise for us, because it's made me sort of look at all the parts of the business of what we're doing and how we're doing it, what's not working, what is working. So for us going forward, it's to maximise that asset now that we've got. And up till now, all I've had is depreciating assets. So anything with wheels, the minute it rolls off the lorry, it's worth 20% less than it was when I bought it, which is pretty demoralising. And if you have a year where you don't spend much money, your depreciation starts slipping away from you. So I wanted to have an asset that was going to go up in value, or at worst case stand still. But hopefully with what we're going to spend there and invest there, we're going to increase the value of that property, and it will give us a good footing for going forward. And for us to be able to farm more, at the moment we run a 20-ton batch dryer, which in a year like we've had this year is fine, because we don't really dry much. But the last 2 years, last year we dried for 11 months of the year, because we physically hadn't got the room in the sheds to move stuff around. And stuff was okay in the sheds, but it wasn't dry. Stuff sat at 16.5%, 17%, and we've got fans on them, keeping it conditioned, but it wasn't dry, so we needed to dry it. So we dried for 11 months of the year, which I don't want to do that again. That is extremely demoralising. But going forward, we're looking to put a large continuous flow dryer in, and a store that will hold roughly 7,000 tonnes of grain. And from my point of view, there is scope there for more in the future. But, you know, I just, you know, we want it so that we've got that as ours. And, you know, as long as I can pay my mortgage on it, nobody can tell me otherwise. So no, it's really exciting on that front. And that's our you know, our next big push and change is that side of it. You know, the potential of doing a cleaning system there and all that sort of stuff, and that sort of works in with the lorries and everything else. So yeah, no, there's plenty to be going on with, and it's better to be busy than bored.
I mean, Matt has done, when you look at this business, he hasn't been handed a farm, he hasn't been handed land.
No, it's probably been a bit of a fight for him from the start, but yeah, you've got, unbelievable where he's got to now with what he's got, and say what holds for the future, and it doesn't show any signs in slowing down. So,
and you've known Matt for a few years, so I bet it's been nice to see him grow it.
So went to high school with him. Yeah, so known him for a long time, been good pals. So yeah, it's nice to see him doing well, and yeah, it's just nice to grow the business with him, I suppose, and be a part of it.
Do you enjoy working here, different variety?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, yeah, for the chances I've had and learning and different things like that, I suppose you wouldn't get it anywhere else. And when we're busy, and he knows we're there to do the work. But when the pressure's off a little bit, he's not at your neck saying you must do this, do this, do this. It's just relaxed atmosphere, and they say for having the crack with the lads and having a bit of laugh and bonding with the rest of them, I think it's a pleasant place to work then.
Have you got a nice team around you?
Yeah, no, very good. Yeah, no, good. To be fair, we all get on. At Christmas time, we'll all go out. He'll take us out for food and whatever else, have a few drinks. Yeah, it is all, everyone gets on. There's no animosity between any of us, so it's good.
It's the way it's got to be though, hasn't it?
Yeah,
really? You're working with people day in, day out.
It is. Yeah, it all stems from Matthew, I suppose. It is relaxed.
So this year, on the back of this year, is on the back of 25. So 24 harvest was rubbish for us. 25 harvest was ever so slightly better, but it was better on a previous harvest that was rubbish. So we've had 2 years consecutively. Now, you know, I haven't got short memory. We had 2 very good years before that, you know, selling wheat at £300 a tonne, and we'd got the yields and the sheds were full. And you know, those are the years when you're not moaning, because, you know, being completely frank, you know, we made good money. And that's the thing that, as well, from a youngster's point of view, you've got everybody telling you how rubbish agriculture is. You've got everybody telling you, oh, there's no money in it. You have to work long hours. It's rubbish. You're on your own all the time, and whatever else. I think we need to do a better job as British agriculture at telling people, actually, you know, this actually isn't as bad as people make out. Yes, okay, it might not be as good as it was in the 80s and 90s, when I think farmers were making a lot of money because grain prices were the same as they are now, and inputs were not, I'm going to say half, but they would have been a hell of a lot less, and the machinery didn't cost anywhere near as much as it does now. So, you know, we're on that treadmill of we're having to do more to stand still, if you like. But I think we just need to do a better job at telling people actually it's quite a good industry to be in, because you have the camaraderie with people that you work with. I mean, I spend more time with the lads at work than I do with my wife. You know, and the things with phones and radios and things like that, we're in contact all the time with each other. We know where each other are. I'm constantly looking at my phone to see a tractor on a page to see where he is and how far he's got and what he's done. But it is that thing. I just think we need to be better at telling people that actually this industry is actually quite good, and the fact that there is money to be made. And I am playing that down a little bit because it is hard work, but so's any business. It doesn't matter whether it's agriculture or not. Any business, you know, you can have a factory, a man that makes nuts and bolts. He'll have good years and bad years. For us, we have good years and bad years, and the worst thing for us is that we are dictated to by the weather, which is completely out of our control. But we are all in it together, and if it's hooning down the rain here, I'm pretty sure it's going to be doing that on the neighbours as well. So from that point of view, we are all in it together. I just think we need to be promoting the industry more than we are doing, and flying the flag of how good we are at doing it. And actually, if that means that we're making money, well, then that's a good thing. Tell people that you're making money, because it means that you're doing really good at your job. This whole thing of playing it down and, all right, if you've had a rubbish year, fine, you can't make that up. And I'm very open in the fact that I've had 2 rubbish years, but the 2 years prior to that were really, really good. And we should just be doing more and telling people, telling the British public of how good we are at what we do and the quality of the food that we are producing for them, because, you know, without it, you're going to go hungry.